Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Moore.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you, friends. Welcome once again to Tell the Truth. To start our show off, we have indeed a special guest, a very special young man who has become the star of what is probably the most unexpectedly successful television series to come along in many a season. We'll meet him as soon as we've met our stellar panel here on To Tell the Truth.
Bill Smollett. Kitty Carlisle. And Nipsey Russell.
Oh, Nipsey, you make the rest of us feel so rotten.
That's right.
That was a silent majority, you heard.
Well, panel, there's almost nothing I can say to you at this moment that won't in some way tip off who our first guest is. So if you'll be kind enough to consider yourself greeted, I'll send you flowers after the show, and we'll forge on and meet our very special guest, the young man who plays the role of John Boy on the television series The Waltons. Say hello to Mr. Richard Thomas. Richard, congratulations to everything that's happened to you.
Thank you very much.
One thing I'd like to establish, we all hear about the people in our business having an overnight success. I hear you've got this marvelous part in this great series.
Uh-huh.
How many years have you been an actor?
About 16.
16 years. Uh-huh. And also about the business of typecasting. And, you'd say, well, they picked a nice, clean-cut young fellow to play this. I saw you on with Patty Duke the other day.
Oh, my freak show.
How would you describe that character you played?
Well, just your basic homicidal maniac.
He has more than one string to his bow. Also, we would assume that you were chosen perhaps because you had a background of the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Well, no, I was born and raised here in New York City. However, my father was born and raised in Kentucky, eastern Kentucky, and that's not a far cry from Schuyler, Virginia.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a great series, and we're going to expect you back in a minute to help us pick out the real guy about who we're going to talk in a second. Richard,
thank you very much.
Richard, So now let us meet the man who dreamed up the idea of the Waltons.
Number one, what is your name, please?
My name is Earl Hamner.
Number two.
My name is Earl Hamner.
Number three.
My name is Earl Hamner.
And here's Earl Hamner's story of how the Waltons actually came into being. It says, I, Earl Hamner, am the creator of the television series The Waltons. It all started when 12 years ago, I wrote a story about a family who lived through the Depression in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. Now the story of the Walton family is a weekly television event. Fortunately, the producers of the program decided not to cast famous Hollywood superstars, but rather to emphasize the truth and the reality of a close-knit family and their friends, and then let the show find its own audience. To everyone's great surprise, that's just what happened, and the Waltons became one of the TV hits of the year. Everyone has praised the show's genuineness and its fidelity to old-time values. Maybe that is because the Waltons are really my own family, as I remember them during the years when I was growing up. The character of John Boy is really me. Signed, Earl Hamner. And while the panel gets ready for the questioning ahead, we'll detour for a few commercials and be right back to play games.
Big. The prizes get bigger.
A home in Florida.
On the biggest game show on TV. The Price is Right, Saturday at 10:30.
We're proud to have with us today three gentlemen, all claiming to be Earl Hamner, the man who wrote about himself and his family in the television series The Waltons. Let's start the question, please, with Peggy Cass.
Thank you. Number 3, have you written TV shows before The Waltons?
Yes, I have.
Okay, well, number 3, what was the show The Waltons was based on?
The Homecoming,
Thank you. And who played the mother in The Homecoming?
Patricia Neal.
Thank you. Now, number 1, was your father as nice as that fella is on The Waltons?
Oh, he was a very nice fellow.
Well, was he saltier than the man on the wall?
I think he was just a little bit saltier because he trained me well and made me work hard.
Okay. Now, number 2, have you written novels?
Well, not to speak of.
Okay. Well, number 2, was your father actually a farmer or a miner? Which was it?
No, he was actually a machinist. But we didn't decide that was a good idea to use. It wasn't as good as working with the land.
Oh, certainly not. More donut, though.
Thank you, Peg, and we're going to go to Bill.
Number 3, Peggy asked about your father. The entire family, have you, as you presented them, have you improved them a little bit, made them a little more, I'll use the word acceptable, I don't mean it just that way. But, yes, I do mean it that way. Have you?
No, my family is very acceptable without being improved upon.
That's more than I can say for my family, number 3. Number 1, when you did a thing like this, do you find it more difficult to follow real life, follow something that really happened, as opposed to writing pure fiction?
No, because this is really the story of my growing up, and it's very true to life. My mother still makes me remember the things that were in my childhood, and I put them down on paper, and that's why the show seems so real, because it is real.
Is it possible, number 2, that television is becoming more a mirror of reality? We have your show, which is based on the Louds and things like that.
I certainly think so. I think that this show proves that we have to get back to the basics.
Thank you, Bill, and we're going to Kitty.
I just love this show, and I love what it says. Number 3, I've missed some of the last episodes. Has John Boy, has he gone out to be a writer yet?
No, he's still in high school, but he will be going to college.
Oh, I see. Oh, thank you for telling me. Number 1, how did you get to college?
Well, I worked hard, and I got a scholarship, and that's how I got.
Where did you go?
I went to Northwestern University.
Oh, and number 2, then right after that you became a proper writer?
No, not right after college. We'd started before. And as far as getting anything published, it was quite a bit after.
I see. Number 3, have you written novels too?
Yes.
And number 2, where does this all take place actually? Where is it really filmed?
Well, it's Schuyler down in Virginia. That's the name of the town originally.
Oh, you filmed it right there?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, it isn't filmed there.
All right, and let's go on, please, to Nipsey Russell.
Well, to continue that thought, number 2, from what city in the Blue Ridge Mountains did you come?
It's Schuyler, Virginia.
And that's essentially the story of your own life.
That's right. I misunderstood the question about where.
Number 3, unless you're Ponce de Leon, I don't see how you could have lived during the Depression. But what made you feel that the nostalgia kick would include a love for those hard time stories?
Well, I simply felt that they interested me, and my family interested me, and that's what I've always written about, whether it's been books or a television series.
And still, number 3, from your life, what seems most romanticized to you was that period of your life, the Depression time?
I suppose because of the casting of Richard Thomas as me, I find that very romantic.
I see. Number 1.
All right, unfortunately, we have run out of time. The bell is rung, and we must mark our ballots. We'll do it along with them in our head. Is it number 1, do you think? Or do you prefer number 2? Or do you feel quite sure that it's number 3? In any event, we pay our team $50 for each wrong vote. We pay them $500 if nobody comes up with the right gentleman. And Peggy, you must commence, my dear.
Yes. Well, gee, number 3, your accent is so perfect. But you're too young. I mean, you really you must have been, just saving silver paper in World War II. So number 2, I don't think it's you somehow. But number 1, you've lost that Virginia accent. But I think it's you. You did it in Hollywood. Everybody loses everything in Hollywood. I didn't mean that.
That's quite all right.
Peggy.
You can lose those things are like poverty, amongst other things. We have one showing, and we're going to Bill Cullen.
After what Peggy just said, I'm afraid to vote. I thought number 3's accent actually was Canadian. It sounded that to me. And number 2 looked so much like the creator and author that I'm left with number 1. I voted for him.
Number 2 looked too right, huh?
Yeah.
All right, we got a pair of ones going. Kitty.
Well, I agree with the others. Number 3 is far too young to have grown up during the Depression, but I couldn't resist About, which I think is rather from Virginia, and that tweedy jacket is what writers wear.
So, you got a 3 in spite of his youthful appearance, and Nipsey, are you going along with whom?
Well, I voted the way I did because of the question I asked. Number 1, I lived during that period, you know. Yeah,
You don't look old enough either.
Oh, sure, and I know what that poverty side of it was. We were so poor that when we would throw the dog a bone, he would signal for a fair catch.
Almost unanimously, it is number 1 who seems to have lost his accent in 1 for number 3. Now, it's kind of suitable that the actor who plays John Boy on television should come out and pick out the real Earl Hamner, who was John Boy in his own life. And let's get Richard Thomas out here. And Richard, if you can come out here and find your creator, or John Boy's creator, surely you'd recognize him somewhere.
I don't, folks.
Kitty, having been married to a writer, can pick out a writer every time. Let's go down the line. Number 1, Magnificent. What is your real name? What do you do?
Well, I worked hard to try to fool you, but my real name is John Bosworth, and I worked to develop the outer packaging on Revlon's newest and finest fragrance, Charlie.
Number 2, you were just too perfect. You look like a writer. What is your real name? What do you do?
Well, my name is Rick Riker, and I'm in commercial photography in New York with Harry Schlack.
Good man. Earl Hamner, it's kind of tough to ask you this question with Richard Thomas sitting right there beside you, but it would be interesting to find out that as this series continues, as it inevitably will, it's a great series, the Walton children will be growing up in the show. You can't avoid that. Will they continue in their roles, or will they be replaced by younger actors?
Over my dead body.
What was the answer? I wanted Richard to hear that.
They will be replaced over my dead body.
Richard, I just thought I would relieve your mind.
We are John.
Earl Hamner, Richard Thomas, and Imposters, many thanks for being with us on To Tell the Truth. There you go.
Concentrate.
Now let's meet the man from Hunza.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Muhammad Amin Khan.
Number 2,
My name is Muhammad Amin Khan.
number 3,
My name is Muhammad Amin Khan.
And here is the faraway fable of Muhammad Amin Khan. He says, I, Muhammad Amin Khan, come from the kingdom of Hunza. Hunza served as the actual model for the mythical kingdom of Shangri-La. And here is why. The people of Hunza, called Hunzakuts, live extraordinarily long lives. It is not unusual for a Hunzakut at the age of 100 to lead a full and active life. Perhaps the reason is that the Hunzakuts follow a simple diet consisting mainly of fruits and vegetables, especially apricots. They drink the mineral-rich glacier water and live an active outdoor life. Not only do Hunzakuts live long lives, they almost never suffer from cancer, heart disease, or ulcers. Hunza is a land of peace. There is no crime, no divorce, no juvenile delinquency, and no drug problem. I'm very proud of Hunza, even prouder of the fact that my father is its king. Signed, Prince Mohammed Amin Khan. And I think it's interesting that while I don't live there, I don't seem to be getting older. We're going to start the questioning, please, with Kitty Carlisle.
Number 2, exactly where is Hunza?
It's in northwest Pakistan.
Is it near the Himalayas?
It is in the Himalayas.
Number 3, how high up is it?
It goes up from 8,000 feet up into the Himalayas, up to 20,000.
Thank you. Is it, number 1, is it a constitutional monarchy or an absolute monarchy?
So it's a part of Pakistan, it's a state in Pakistan.
Oh, I see. And number 2, the religion is Mohammedanism?
Right.
Number 3, what kinds of vegetables do the people cultivate their own vegetable? Do they work hard?
Yes.
Is that part of the reason you feel that they live so long?
Yes, it's strictly an agricultural country and we grow our own food.
I see. Number 2, is there any liquor consumed, like a table wine or something?
No.
No wine at all? No spirits?
And from there, we go to Nipsey, please.
Number 1, I see that they point out that there is no divorce and no crime and whatnot. Is there marriage?
Yeah, even though we are Muslims and we are allowed to divorce, but few divorces happen.
I see. Number 2, are there taxes?
Well, very little on the land which the people have. I mean, just land tax, that's all.
Well, not much marriage, not many taxes. No wonder you can live a long time. Number 3, what is considered middle age?
Well, about 60.
About 60.
Well, I'm 53.
Get out of here.
Well, number 1 again, what's the primary industry there?
Agriculture, that's farming.
And what do you want to know, Peg? You
Well,
look
boy,
so
I'm going to go sit in number 3 seat afterwards. That first guy didn't look old enough either. Maybe that's catching. Listen, number 2, how many wives are you allowed in Hunza?
Well, being a Muslim country, you can have 4 wives, but normally everyone has 1 wife.
That's nice. Number 3, are the apricots dried or fresh?
In the summer, they're fresh. In the winter, they're dried. That's one reason why we eat them.
Thank you. Well, now, number 1, why do you think the apricot is such a terrific thing to eat to make you look like number 3? I mean, what's so good about apricots? I'm going to go buy some if they're really good.
Yeah, because especially apricot is very good fruit, basically. Plus, in the high mountain there, when we feel very cold, apricot is really acid fruit and makes you feel warm.
Thank you. Number 2, do you eat yogurt like the Bulgarians that live to be so old? I mean, would you...
Not so much, not so much.
Well, number 3, if you don't have very many taxes, how do you support the king?
That buzzer. Good question. Takes us to Bill.
I'll stick with that, number 3. How do you support the king?
Very simple. The king has most of the land.
Number 2, the king has most of the land. There is no wine or anything like that there. What do you do for recreation, number 2, or fun in Hunza?
Well, it depends. They have games. Basically, people are farmers, so...
Farm.
Basically, most of the time is spent on farms. They may have local dances and all that.
They farm, and the king has all the money, and there's no winery. You sure it just doesn't seem like living 100 years, number 2? No, number 1, you mentioned, this is important, you mentioned there's little heart disease or ulcers, understandable with no activity, but also relatively free from cancer, number 1. Has anyone studied or looked into that to find out perhaps why or what the reason is for that to get serious for a moment?
No, before I came here, I didn't know anything about cancer. Well, people there don't know anything either. But people who came from outside just say that.
All righty. And the little bell says it is time now for us to cast votes. Choose amongst these gentlemen as to whether it's number 1 or number 2 or number 3. And Kitty, you have made your mark. We would love to see it.
Yes. Well, I think they're all frightfully attractive, and any of them could be a noble of the kingdom of Hunza, but I think number 2 is the crown prince.
So, we've got a 2 going, and Nipsey?
Well, eating all those apricots, I can understand why there's so much outdoor activity, but I thought that...
No editorializing, please.
I thought trying to analyze the accents, that the others sounded a little more Indian to me, so I took number one as the...
All righty, 1 and a 2. Peggy, you look, stunned, startled, nonplussed?
Oh, I figured sort of the same accent, Pakistan and India. I don't understand how come there's a king within a country, but then, now, I think you're all wonderful, but I think number 2 is the real true prince. Want my slipper?
And Bill Cullen.
Number 1 has a princely bearing. Number 3 certainly isn't 53. He made that up. He has to beat him. Number 2 I voted for. He's 53.
We'll find out. Votes are in. Will the real Prince Mohammed Amin Khan please stand up, sir? Sorry, we didn't do better, gentlemen. It was a good try. Number 1, what is your real name, please, and what do you do?
My real name is Nazir Saad, and I'm editor at the Lebanese American Journal.
Good to have you here. Number 3, you're not 53. What is your real name and what do you do?
No, my name is Mahendra Singhji Chudasama. I'm Public Relations Director of Air India.
Prince Mohammed Amin Khan, thank you. And thank you, gentlemen all. You've given us an interesting time on To Tell the Truth. Panel, an absolutely fascinating thing happened to me on my way to the studio this morning. Unfortunately, the details of it escaped me, so you'll have to tune in the next time.
This is Bill Wendell speaking for To Tell the Truth. A Mark Woodson, Bill Cotton production.